to the deep dive, the place where we sift through the
Kenya's trying something
so you don't have to
pretty
get buried in the
huge right now.
research.
They're in the middle of this
Today,
massive
we are taking a
educational
deep dive
experiment.
into something,
And the goal? It's all about tackling
truly
the youth
fundamental,
unemployment
a
crisis
complete
by, get
overhaul of
this,
the nation's
getting students
schooling
out of
system.
the classroom
Right, it's
and
all
into
wrapped up
their
in
community.
this
Kenya's trying something
document
it's a
that's
really
pretty
huge
bold
right now
framework.
plan. But the big question
Or
is, will it
ECF
actually
for
work?
short.
And this is a
And that
massive
really gets to the
change.
heart of
It's
the
a
issue,
seismic
right?
shift.
I mean,
The
why
sources
doesn't a
make it
diploma
really
in
clear
Kenya
that the goal
guarantee a
isn't
job anymore?
just a minor
It's this
tweak,
question
it's
that's
a
just
total
haunting an entire generation.
philosophical
You know that
renewal.
traditional
what's the
promise we all grew up with?
mission? What's the big
Go to school,
idea?
get your
The
diploma,
mission,
get a
and
good
they
job.
state this right up
Well,
front,
in
is
Kenya, that
nurturing
promise
every
feels broken.
learner's potential.
So what's going
The
on?
whole point
Where's the
is to
disconnect?
produce a new
Well,
generation
there's a
of what they
name for
call
it. Researchers
engaged,
call it the
empowered,
school
and
to
ethical
work gap.
citizens.
And
That
honestly,
mission statement alone
it's
tells you
the
how
central
different this
problem
is from
that
the
Kenya's
systems
entire
choice.
new curriculum is
For
trying to solve.
decades, it was the 844
Basically,
system.
what's happening is
8
this.
years
There's a
primary, 4
huge
secondary,
disconnect
4
between what
university.
kids are learning in
1985,
school
yeah.
and what
It's
the
what generations
actual
of
job
people
market
went through.
needs.
So we
It's
have
like
to
they're being
figure
given a
out
map for a city that doesn't
why
exist
a
anymore.
structure that
And this
educates so
gap,
many people
it's
was
leaving
suddenly,
thousands of
not
educated,
good enough for
smart young
21st
Kenyans
century.
totally
Why
unprepared
this
for the modern
complete
workforce.
demolition
It's the
and
fuel
rebuild?
for this whole
The
unemployment
sources are
crisis.
remarkably candid
Okay,
about
so
the
what's the
problems
big
being
idea to fix this? Well,
Not
enter
at
the
all.
competency-based
It was, first and
curriculum,
foremost,
or CBC
intensely
for short.
academic,
And we're going to
just
focus on what might be its
hyper-focused on
most
examinations.
innovative, game-changing part for senior school
And
students.
that led to,
It's called Community
severe
Service Learning,
curriculum
or
overload. Just too
CSL.
much content
Now,
to
you might be
memorize.
thinking, oh, so it's just volunteering.
That was the other huge
But it's
issue.
way more
Even
than
if the
that.
school
It's a
wanted to
whole
teach
teaching
technical
method,
skills,
an
most
experiential
schools didn't
learning
have
strategy
workshops
that's
or
designed to build a
labs.
bridge over that school-to-work gap. The whole point is to mix
memorize
real-world
facts for
community
one big
service
test,
directly with
and it
what's
was
being
totally
taught in class,
disconnected from the
to make
real world.
education
Precisely,
feel
and the
relevant,
consequences
like
of that
right now.
fed
And
straight
believe
back
me,
into
the ambition
national
here
economy.
is huge.
Well, you had
This
graduates,
isn't just about
especially
doing
leaving
good
secondary
deeds for the
school,
sake of
who
it.
often didn't
The
have
real goal is to build those
practical or,
tangible
entrepreneurial
21st century skills that
to create their own
everyone talks
jobs.
about.
Which leads to
You know,
unemployment.
critical thinking,
Frustratingly
problem
high
solving,
unemployment.
communication,
And
stuff that
the
helps
framework
with career
explicitly
development.
notes this.
These are the
It
exact skills
contributed
that
to
were
a rise
missing
in
from the
social
old
issues.
system. And we're
Things
not
like
talking about a small
crime,
commitment
drug
here.
abuse.
Just look at this number.
Sounds like the whole system was measuring the wrong
135.
thing.
That's the
That's the
crux of
minimum
it.
number
The
of hours
assessment
of
was all
community
summative.
service every
Assessment
single
of learning,
student
as
has
they
to
call it.
complete
You get
over
a
their
grade at
3
the
years
end,
in
and
senior
that's
school.
that. There was
That
very
really
little
shows you
assessment
just
for
how
learning,
central
you know, where
CSL
the
is
teacher
to
is
this whole
constantly
new
checking
vision
in
for
and
Kenyan
adjusting.
education.
So what's the new
It's not
vision
optional.
built on?
Okay,
It's rooted
so you
in
might be
3
wondering,
core
how on
pillars.
earth
First,
does this
a
ambitious
total
idea
shift
actually
to a
fit into an already
competency-based
packed student
curriculum, or
schedule?
CBC.
It's a fair
Second,
question.
building
Let's take a look.
systems to identify and
So
nurture
check this
talents
out.
early on.
In a typical
And third,
40-lesson
creating
school
multiple
week,
flexible learning
CSL
pathways
isn't
once
some
students hit
afterthought,
senior
you know,
school.
like an after-school
Call
club
that
you can skip.
competency-based
No
curriculum
way.
idea.
It's
For
a
someone
core
who is a
subject with
teacher,
3
what does CBC
dedicated
actually
lessons.
mean in the
That puts it right
Okay,
up
think
there
of it
with
this way. The
English,
old system
Kiswahili,
asks, do you
and
know the
math.
capital of France?
That structure
Paris,
alone
Right.
tells you
Competency
everything you need to
asks,
know about
can
how
you
important this
analyze
is
why
supposed to
Paris
be.
developed where it
And
did,
you can see
and
how
then
it
use
works
some
in
digital
practice when you
tools
look
to
at a
propose
single
new
term-long
infrastructure plan
project.
for it.
It's a very
So
structured
it's about
process.
doing something
You
with
start in
knowledge.
weeks 1 and
Exactly.
2
It
developing a
moves the
project
focus
proposal.
from
Then
knowing
you're out
facts
there
to
engaging
doing
with
things.
community
It's
leaders.
all about
Then you're recruiting
demonstrable
volunteers.
skills.
Then
And it
comes the
aligns
actual
perfectly with
implementation,
national goals
maybe
like
hosting a
Kenya
community
Vision
story time
2030,
or
which needs a
organizing sports
workforce with
events.
technical
And it doesn't end there.
innovative
You have to
skills.
reflect,
Skills the old
evaluate,
system just
and then
wasn't providing.
showcase your work.
Not at all.
This is the
Okay,
definition
so
of learning by
let's get
doing.
into the intellectual
Okay, so
blueprint
this
for
all sounds pretty amazing,
If the goal
right?
is
A real
competency,
game changer.
what are the
But,
pedagogical
and it's a
theories
big
holding
but,
this whole
as
framework
promising
up?
as this is,
What's
CSL is
fascinating here is
basically
the,
walking right
the
into a
sheer
storm.
breadth of
It's
the
facing
theory.
the
They
exact
aren't
same
just
really
relying
difficult
on one
challenges
school
that
of
have plagued the
thought.
Pulling from
entire
everywhere.
curriculum reform
Exactly.
from
It
day
starts
one.
with the classics,
And it's
the
so important to get
constructivists
this.
like Dewey
These
and
problems aren't
Vygotsky.
new.
Right.
They're
So
not
Dewey's
specific to
idea is that
CSL.
learning should be
The success of
hands-on,
this one program is
experience-based.
completely tied up in these
Arising
big
from the students' own
systemic
interests,
issues
not just
that have been there
abstract
since the
facts from a
very
book.
start of the
And
whole
Vygotsky brings
CBC
in the
rollout.
social element.
He
The
does.
research
The idea
basically
that
boils
learning
it down
is a
to
deeply
3
social
major
activity.
hurdles.
This is
First
where
up,
you get the zone
poor
of
stakeholder
crossing the wall, or
sensitization.
CBD.
What does that
So
mean?
what does that
It means parents and sometimes even teachers don't fully get what's expected of them. Second, and this is a big one, inadequate resources. Schools and families just don't have the materials, the time, or the money for all these hands-on projects. And that leads directly to the third hurdle, negative attitudes, which you can imagine often grow out of all that confusion and financial stress.
Listen to what this one parent had to say. It just gets right to the core of that resource problem. They said, the new curriculum CBC is very good, but the cost is so much higher, and it's difficult for them to manage on a low income. The vision of a hands-on curriculum sounds great, right? But the reality is a massive financial burden on families. Good ideas cost money, and right now it feels like parents are the ones footing the bill.
And this next quote, wow, it perfectly captures the confusion and the negative attitudes. A parent asked, who is now more creative and imaginative, me or the child? They go on to say that, of course, a grade 4 kid can't make a scarecrow on
You're
their own.
tracking each
You can
student's
just feel the
performance against a
frustration.
fixed standard
Parents
of
feel like they're the ones doing the
Have they
homework,
mastered
not
the
their
skill?
kids.
Yes
And
or
that's
no?
leading to some serious resentment. So with all these problems,
It
is
has
CSL
to.
just
If
doomed
you
to
accept
fail
that
before it even
learners
really
have
starts?
different kinds of
Well,
minds,
not
some are
necessarily.
musical, some
Researchers
spatial,
have actually
some
proposed a
logical.
really
They have
clear
to assess them in a
three-step
different
plan
way.
to try and
Knowledge is that
navigate
a
these
5-year-old
challenges
and a
and make sure the
15-year-old
program can actually
face
succeed.
totally different life
It's called the
challenges.
transmission, transactional, and reflection model. Sounds a bit academic, but it's actually super straightforward. Step 1, transmission. You build the foundation in the classroom. You teach the theories and the skills students are going to need. Step 2, transactional. That's the learning by doing part. Students go out into the community and actually apply that knowledge. And then step 3, and this is absolutely crucial, reflection. They bring that experience back into the classroom to talk about it, think critically about what they learned, and connect it all back to the curriculum. It's a simple but really powerful cycle. Learn, do, and then process.
And all of this really brings us to the central tension, the big tug of war, the very heart of this entire educational reform.
On one side, you have this incredible promise, right? The idea of creating a whole new generation of skilled, ethical, and engaged citizens who are actually ready for the modern workforce. But on the other side, you have the peril, the very real danger that this brilliant, well-intentioned idea just collapses under its own weight because of a lack of resources, not enough training, and just not enough support. So, at the end of the day, CSL can't succeed in a vacuum. Its fate is completely tied to fixing those bigger foundational problems that have been challenging the curriculum from the start. Real success isn't going to come from just launching another new program. It's going to come from properly supporting the one that's already there.
And that leaves us with one final big question. Can a visionary curriculum succeed without visionary investment? I mean, on paper, Kenya has a truly visionary plan. But a vision needs more than just a good idea, right? It needs the money, the resources, the training, and the collective will to actually see it through. Whether it gets that, well, that remains to be
This is the
seen.
clearest indicator of the national strategy. The framework mandates that the STEM pathway is designed to take 60% of all students entering senior school.
60%. Wow. Why so high?
It's all about meeting the goals of Kenya Vision 2030. To drive industrialization and manufacturing, you need a skilled workforce in those areas. This is an institutional push to re-engineer the country's workforce from the ground up.
That's a huge logistical challenge. How do they support that pivot?
It requires massive investment, obviously, but the tracks themselves are very specific. For instance, the technical and engineering track isn't just abstract science, it's things like geosciences technology, aviation technology, welding, and fabrication.
So developing the specific skilled workers the country needs right now.
Yes, and it builds directly on the pre-technical education they get in lower secondary.
And weaving through all these pathways is a compulsory component about giving back to the community.
That's the community service learning, or CSL, principle. It's compulsory for everyone in senior school.
So it's about integrating classroom knowledge with real-world work.
Exactly, experiential learning. So if you're studying home management, your CSL might be a partnership with a local hotel or a hospital. You're learning by contributing.
That idea of practical contribution brings us to how the BECF deals with bigger societal challenges. They call them pertinent and contemporary issues, or PCIs.
Right, and these aren't taught as separate subjects. They're mainstreamed across everything.
And they all fall under that core competence of citizenship.
That's right. It's broken down into 6 strands: governance, human rights, gender, sustainable development, diversity and peace, and conflict resolution.
Let's focus on the global dimension for a second here. The framework highlights Global Citizenship Education, GCED. What are they trying to build there?
GCED is about fostering a sense of belonging to a common humanity.
So thinking beyond your own town or country.
Precisely. It's about giving learners the skills and values to engage with global challenges. It's directly tied to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, especially Target 4.7.
And to think globally, you have to understand diversity. How do they teach that?
They often use what's called the onion model to show the different layers. You have individual diversity, personality, talents, then ethnic diversity, religious diversity, and even economic diversity.
And the point is to see these differences as a strength.
Yes, to promote respect and recognize the value of interdependence.
Which is vital when you get to that final strand.
Yeah.
Peace and conflict resolution.
Yeah.
The framework makes a really important distinction about the definition of peace itself.
It does. It moves beyond negative peace, which is just the absence of war or violence.
Right.
And it pushes for positive peace. This means you also have to have the presence of justice, equity, and respect for human rights. It's a much more proactive idea of peace.
And the curriculum tries to address the root causes of conflict, both on a personal and a national level.
Exactly. It connects your internal well-being to external stability. So at a personal level, a lack of peace might come from holding grudges or, always trying to impress people.
And at the national level.
It's often about things like unequal sharing of resources, political agitation, or the state failing to provide basic security.
So the curriculum is trying to draw a straight line from a student's ability to see a tough math problem as a challenge.
Their self-efficacy.
Right. And connect that to their future ability to see a national resource dispute as a matter of equity and justice.
That connection is the entire point. It's a genuine revolution in thinking. The whole measurement of success shifts from what was taught to what has been demonstrably learned.
The design is impressive, but implementation is everything. What does the framework say about the people who have to actually make this happen?
That is the critical final piece. It acknowledges that this requires a complete reorientation for teachers. Their focus has to shift from just covering the syllabus to ensuring every student masters the competencies.
And what about parents?
Just as crucial. The framework calls for robust parental empowerment and engagement. Parents have to be active partners, especially when it comes to choosing those specialized senior school pathways. It has to be a shared national project.
And that ties everything back to that core mission: engaged, empowered, and ethical citizens. We said earlier that a learner with strong self-efficacy sees a difficult task as a challenge, not a threat. So if this competency is successfully nurtured throughout a child's entire education, how might that fundamentally change a generation's approach, not just to their own failures, but to these deep-seated national and even global conflicts? What stands out to you?